above it. Pretty neat. Inflation is everywhere and always a monetary phenomenon. Inflation is too much money chasing few goods, right? Remember under the socialist system, there are no prices. So again, I would just wire my house with gold. So it's very inefficient because there's no prices, there's no value to anything. And also, there's no incentive, right? There's no incentive for me to do anything. So Planet Money had the South Korean movie star that was kidnapped, and the dictator told them that North Korean movies suck because there's no incentive. They have it too easy in North Korea, right? Now what he means is that whether or not you make a good or a bad movie, you get your rations, no more, no less. You make a good movie, you're actually taking a risk. You're putting a lot more effort into it. You could think in terms of calories. You know, if I have to expend 2,000 calories a day to really work and make that good movie, and they're only going to give me 1,500 calories a day, all right? I'm going to start losing weight, which could be a good thing sometimes, but not in North Korea. All right, so I'm going to start starving, and I'm going to actually sacrifice myself in the name of this decent movie. And of course, if the movie turns out that it's too artistic or the dictators don't like it, then, you know, me and my whole family get murdered, right? So there's just too much risk. I'm much better just kind of coasting along, doing what everybody else did, right? Now you can compare that to the West, the capitalist system of the United States, where you make a bad movie, you don't get paid. You may not work again for a while, right? But if you make a good movie, it's a huge incentive to go out and take a risk and put your reputation on the line, because if your movie turns out to be this box office giant, then you can make a lot of money and you can live very well, and other people will be knocking down your door to get a hold of you, right? So that's the idea of risk. In fact, talk more about entrepreneurs, and that's why entrepreneurs make money. That's why we can say they earn their profit through the risk that they take. Right? So business owners, and often they don't actually earn a profit, but the idea there is that entrepreneurs take a risk, and that in return for their risk, they get profits. So very, very briefly sum that up there. We'll talk more about that and when we get into like labor and stuff. Money is a medium of exchange, right? It's a median, sorry, not a medium. Well, yeah, medium. I get those terms screwed up too, right? A median is the middle number. It's a statistical term, it's a medium. Think like the Long Island medium of exchange, right? Money is backed by what? Well, it's not really backed by anything. It's backed by your confidence. Okay? Let me jump out of this old exam here. What did I talk about? We talked about crime and game theory, which I thought was kind of interesting. I hope you guys enjoyed that. We have unemployment and inflation, right? So, you know, remember back to unemployment. Who is unemployed? You have to be actively seeking work, right? You have to be in the job market and seeking employment. And so if you are technically you're, you know, not in the labor force, I guess. If you're kind of sitting on your mom's couch and you're not trying to get a job, you're not actually unemployed, right? I mean, according to official numbers. If you've been unemployed for 6 months or longer and you've kind of stopped looking, they consider you no longer unemployed, right? Discouraged worker phenomenon. So all these people are taken out of the labor force. Now, what does that do? It actually makes the number smaller. So let's say you have 4 out of 5 people are unemployed, but one of them stops looking for a job. So this is 0.8, making big numbers just to make it obvious. Now, if I take one of these unemployed people, -1, but because he's I'm no longer going to count him as unemployed, but I'm not going to count him in the labor force anymore. And so now 4 minus 1 is 3, 5 minus 1 is 4, 75%, right? So you can see the number went from 80 down to 75. Now you look at big numbers, and you know, you could get a lot more change. Of course, unemployment is not that bad. If it were, that'd be trouble, right? But that's unemployed. And inflation, you know, inflation devalues your currency. It erodes at your purchasing power, which is what you can actually buy with your dollar. It comes from the overprinting of the currency, which causes prices to rise. But prices rise because the money is less valuable, right? So you could think we could go again back to something valuable. Oh, let's say, maybe diamonds. Diamonds are considered very valuable by people, but if you look at the history, they're really only valuable because of what De Beers has done, so I won't get too much into that. But De Beers did have a huge, massive oversupply that they've kind of kept in a vault, and they talked about dumping it in the Mariana Trench, filling it with concrete and dumping it in the ocean. And what that did is it would restrict the supply, right? So they keep their value up by telling you, diamond is forever, you need a diamond, you need a big diamond for your engagement ring, yada yada. So they create that inflexible demand curve. And the supply curve tends to be something like that, where they really won't let any supply out, right? And so they really, now the normal supply curve, if they didn't control it, would probably look something like that. But what they've done is they manipulate the supply curve because they own all of the diamonds. And so they keep it like that. And so what they'll do is they'll keep that supply curve restricted so that the price of a diamond is something like, I think it's around $8,000 per carat, right? And so what would happen if they suddenly opened up that safe and dumped diamonds on the market? They started flooding the market with diamonds. Well, the value of the diamond in people's eyes would go down. They wouldn't pay as much, right? And you would see that curve, probably that demand curve, not only would you have this massive drop in demand, you'd probably see it start to change. People would have a different view on diamonds. And so, you'd probably, the price would fall because you'd have this massive supply of diamonds, and the price would start falling pretty precipitously, right? Initially, you might say, wow, the price fell dramatically, but you would eventually, I think, start to see a lot more people demand diamonds because the price is lower, right? Quantity demand. Let's see, what else should I talk about here? Talk about taxes, public choice. I think public choice theory is pretty interesting. Taxes are just the way the government pays for stuff, right? It takes money from you, your parents, whatever, and it pays for things that some people want, maybe, right? Problem with taxes is you have third party, and so nobody really knows if the things that they pay for are what people want, because I can say, yes, I would like to have X, but then when they go and sell it, oftentimes people will say they want something, but when it comes time to act, it's called perceived, I think, versus revealed preference. So the idea is, how much would you pay for a Coke? And I'd say, oh, $2, no problem. And then I go to a vending machine and the Coke's on sale for $1.50, and I say, I don't really want a Coke that bad, right? And so it's very easy to say I want something, to mark it on a ballot. Do you want this new park? Oh yeah, of course I want the new park. And then taxes come along and I don't really notice that I'm paying anything for it. Now, if they had a new park and they had a little bucket here, and they say, okay, you know what, this is our not really tax, but it's contribution. And I say, deposit money in the bucket. We were going to tax you at $100 a year. Now will you voluntarily deposit? I said, no, I'm not going to pay anything for that. I don't really care that much about the park, right? So taxes are it's very difficult to quantify how much actual desire for the product that's being paid for exists, but I won't get too much into that for this. The last thing is economic growth. I had quite a few questions about economic growth that I put in there. I really suggest the t-shirt project. I love that one. I actually watched the little PowerPoint that I gave. I think it's up on YouTube. I only got the second half. They cut it in two, and so anyways, it's I would say Leslie Chang, really like that video, the TED Talk. She talks about actually going and talking to these people in so-called sweatshops, and what we believe in the West. I'm sitting here, I got this bloody air conditioner going, so it's kind of making a lot of noise. But the reality is that what we see in the West is our view of things from the West is really distorted because we just have it so good, right? So I can say, yeah, you know, working in a sweatshop is a terrible, and yeah, it is. To us, it's a terrible job, right? But to the person that works there, they often in Bangladesh, anyways, that's what the T-shirt project, they have the option of starving. What happened when people started boycotting Bangladesh is they went back to their second option before the factories were there. That was child prostitution, right? Or sweatshop factory. You know, which one would you choose? No, it doesn't sound, no. Yeah, the so-called sweatshop, those are actually really good jobs. They pay very, very well relative to the wages of anything else in those countries. And it is by far their best option. Now we could talk about exploitation if you want, but say they pay higher wages, well, the cost of the products are higher, people buy less, they employ less people, right? And there's a lot more to it than that. In many cases, they wouldn't be there. They would just go somewhere else where they could pay less. And that's because of you and me, right? We want lower cost products. We're not, if a t-shirt costs $50, how many would you buy? You know, this thing right here. So go Cougs, right? Big game tonight. How much would this thing cost? It costs 20 bucks. And it's made, if it were made in the US, it's not gonna cost $20, right? In fact, oh, a great example. There's a hat at this Brooks headquarters over here, and it's made in Seattle, right? Made right here in Seattle, and they got one next to it made in Taiwan. Now, how much do you think the one in Seattle is? Think of how much a hat costs. A hat, I would pay, how much would you pay for a hat? I would say, you know, $20. I'd pay $25 if it's a good one. You know, I'm kind of cheap there. Well, the Seattle one costs $50, right? 50 bucks, 50. How many $50 hats are you gonna buy? I'm gonna buy 0, right? So I don't care where it's made. What I would do is I would take the $25 hat, I'd take the $25 difference, and I'd spend that at a restaurant, or I'd spend it somewhere else down here, right? So I would, not only would I help the local economy, but I'd be getting two things, twice as much, right? And so that's what lower prices, that's why we demand lower prices. We are not willing to pay the full amount. You could say that's unfortunate, that's not unfortunate, whatever, just the way it is, right? We don't make those value judgments in economics. So, if you have any questions on the midterm, let me know. Hopefully that was pretty good.